The world needs more people with curious minds. People who aren't afraid to admit when they don't know something. We need to take the time to encourage more lifelong learners. At least that's my goal with this podcast. I think the future is at stake. But at the same time, I do believe that a more informed population can and will move humanity forward. All we have to do is keep learning. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while since I've done an episode, and I'm really excited to be doing one again. I wanted to take just a quick moment here at the beginning of this episode and explain to you guys a small change that I'm going to make in the format of the show. It's nothing crazy, but I wanted to just take a minute to explain my thought process. So, a lot of people have reached out to me, family, friends, people whose opinions I really value, and they're just very, very supportive of the show. And it means a lot to me. But one of the things that they're always have been asking me for the last few months, especially, is when am I going to put a new episode out? And they wish there were more episodes. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the length of the episodes a little bit. I'm going to try to do a larger volume of more brief episodes. I think that that's going to allow me to put out more content and hopefully be able to scale this thing a little bit. But at the same time, I want to be sure that I'm maintaining the same level of research and effort that I put into each episode. So I wanted to just explain that before I make that formatting change. Now, what I am going to commit to is to still produce some of those long form episodes and put them out, but that will likely just be on a once a week basis for now until I'm able to do this thing full time. Realistically speaking, one long form episode a week was already somewhat challenging, and I think you guys have noticed that from my absence lately. But I do think being able to do these shorter episodes will help me be able to put out more episodes and hopefully be able to build a little momentum like that. And my hope is that all of you guys that are listening are. My hope is that you'll enjoy the fact that I'm able to put out more episodes consistently, I guess. And so that's my hope. That's my goal. But just know that I am putting in the same amount of effort and into the quality of the research that I'm doing and trying to be as thoughtful I can about the information that I'm putting out in these episodes about the things that I'm learning. But I do think shortening them a little bit will help me to be able to be a little bit more consistent. So you're going to notice some 5 to 10 minute episodes popping up a little more frequently. And then every now and then we'll have one of those more long form 30-minute to an hour long episodes, which you guys have probably become used to on this particular show. So I just wanted to go out in front of this episode and say that because I am going to be making that change. And this episode is the first one in more of that brief format. So I've been drawing a lot of inspiration from these tweet threads I've been doing lately, and those will kind of provide me with the notes for these more brief episodes. So anyway, I want to go ahead and get into it, but I did want to make a note to mention that. So we'll see. We'll see how this new format goes, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to call it anything different with these shorter episodes or whatever, but anyway, let's go ahead and dive into it. So here's what I learned recently. There is a secure backup facility for the world's crop diversity located on an Arctic island in northern Norway. The Seed Vault officially opened in February of 2008. But the idea for it, interestingly enough, was actually spawned 25 years before that. So, our story today starts in 1984, when the Nordic Gene Bank, which is now known as Nordgen, established a backup seed storage facility in an abandoned coal mine outside of Longyearbyen. And the idea of establishing a worldwide backup storage gradually evolved from there. If you fast forward to 2001, you will find the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, which is also known as the ITPGRFA, which is a freaking mouthful, but it is essentially just a treaty on plant resources. Now, that was approved and opened to signatures by national governments, like I said, in 2001. And the treaty itself calls for, quote, establishing a multilateral system for plant genetic resources that includes access to and benefit sharing of those resources. This then led to a feasibility study that was conducted in 2004. And the study led to the following, which I found on their website. Quote, the ITPGRFA entered into force in 2004, thus creating the legal framework for having one international security facility. And it's at this point that the momentum really kicked in for the Seed Vault, because the FAO Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture endorsed and welcomed the initiative, which was a big deal for them to get that endorsement. And in October of 2004, the Norwegian government committed to fund and establish the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. The vault itself was opened February 26th, 2008. Now, the vault is also known as the Doomsday Vault, which I think is both morbid and kind of awesome. And I think it can be both. It's a little bit morbid that we have to have a seed vault in case there is some sort of apocalyptic scenario that happens, and we need a backup supply of the global crop diversity. But it's also kind of awesome that we have it. And I think it can be both. I think a lot of times things can be both. I think people miss that with their political ideology sometimes. Like, you can have both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can both be a little creepy that this thing exists, and that is called the Doomsday Vault by a lot of people. But it's also awesome that it does exist. So I think it's really cool. But anyway, so as part of the Seed Vault's first anniversary, more than 90,000 food crops seed samples were placed into storage, which brought the total number of seed samples to 400,000. And these seeds have come from all over the world. It's really cool to see the geographic diversity in all the seeds. They're from every region you can think of. It's awesome. So some of the countries that have put seeds in the vault are the United States and Canada. You also have Switzerland. In South America, you have Colombia. Mexico has contributed seeds to the vault, and Syria even has contributed seeds to the vault. So there's a bunch of other countries, but I just wanted to kind of use that list as an example of how diverse the contents of the seed vault really are, especially geographically. So the seed bank itself, and this is really cool. This is like the sort of architecture behind it. It's 390 feet inside a sandstone mountain on Spitsbergen Island and uses high-level security systems, as I'm sure you can imagine. The facility is managed by the Nordic Genetic Resource Center, though there are no permanent staff on site. That I don't know what to make of that. The fact that the Nordic Genetic Resource Center is who's managing it makes sense, right? Just based on the fact of where it's located. It's in like I said, it's an Arctic island in northern Norway. But the fact that there are no permanent staff on site, I think, is interesting. It feels a little bit suspicious to me that there would just be no permanent staff on site. I think there's probably a lot going on there that they maybe necessarily don't want people to be fully aware of, because I find it hard to believe that there are not people there watching it, I guess, making sure it's nice and safe, though they have high-level security systems. Anyway, I don't want to get crazy conspiratorial, but I think they're probably, I would guess a lot of world governments are keeping an eye on it. Now, it has a capacity of 4.5 million seed samples, which is really a ridiculous number when you think about it. Try to think of 4.5 million of anything. It's really difficult. To be honest, 4.5 million seed samples is more seed samples, I think, than if you had asked me, hey, Nick, how many different types of seeds can we harvest and store in this facility? I don't think I would have guessed anywhere near that many, to be honest. And maybe that means I'm an idiot. That's very possible. But I wouldn't have guessed that many. That is a ton. Now, you can actually follow the vault on Twitter, which I have. Their handle is @GlobalSeedVault. So, personally, I think it's really cool that this seed vault exists. Um, but since I didn't really know it existed until recently, I wanted to ask a couple questions to the experts so I could learn more about it. So I actually tweeted that the two questions that I have for the vault itself and recent depositors, which were at the time, it looks like CI Potato, which is the International Potato Center, Go Vegetables, which is the World Vegetable Center, and Seed Savers Exchange. My two questions to them were A, what is the end goal for the global seed vault as you see it? And then B, how can we, basically the people who are listening to this podcast or see this tweet, help you reach that goal? So, what is the goal, and then how can we help? And it's cool. I actually got some responses back. So I want to share those with you guys real quick. AgroBiodiverse responded to me on Twitter, and AgroBiodiverse said that what we can do is we can make sure that the seed collections in gene banks around the world can be replaced if anything happens to them. That's basically the end goal for the seed vault. So they want to make sure that, once again, we have some sort of crazy situation. Maybe it's a nuclear war or a comet impact or any of the crazy things that could possibly happen to us on this rock that we live on that's hurtling through space. In case any of those crazy scenarios happen, they want to be sure that we can replace the current seed collections from gene banks in case that apocalyptic scenario happens. And then how can we help them with that goal? They said, tell your governments and private companies that you do business with to support gene banks of all kinds. And tell your friends to tell them as well. So we need to support the gene banks is basically their answer to that question. And that makes sense. I think just being aware that the seed vault exists is a good thing in general. I think being aware that people are taking these steps is awesome. So anyway, I also got a response from the World Vegetable Center, which is pretty awesome. So the World Vegetable Center said that we keep duplicates of our gene bank seed in the global seed vault. Should something, flood, fire, earthquake, civil unrest, you name it, damage or destroy our seed, we can retrieve those duplicates and rebuild our collection. That's what the global seed vault is for. How to help, they said. Encourage your elected officials to establish fair policies, support and fund efforts to rescue, collect, and protect and share plant genetic resources. So basically, we want to support and fund the efforts to rescue, collect, protect, and share all of the plant resources from the whole globe, which, I'll be honest, definitely an ambitious goal for anyone. Definitely something that is going to take a lot of effort, I think, just generally speaking. But right there, I think that they're saying, like, find the area of that you think you can help and just try to do your part. And I think if you break things down and make them a little more simple like that, you can absolutely find a way to help. So they also said that another way that we can kind of help them reach their goal is to demand diversity in your food supply. If customers want it, farmers will grow it. Use is key to protecting the plants that support healthy lives and livelihoods. And I think that's really cool. Demanding diversity in the food supply is like an interesting idea. I think we have become so accustomed to just a certain diet, and most people do over time, right? Maybe it's the one you grew up with. Maybe you're have made some changes in your lifestyle, and so now you're on one diet or another. My fiance is a clinical dietitian, and so we pay a lot of attention in our house to just what we eat. But I think regardless of what it is that you yourself like to eat, what they're basically saying here is try to demand more diversity in the food supply, because then they have to grow it, and then we have to put it in the seed vault, and it helps grow the vault and helps grow the diversity of crops that they have in there. Because it looks like 4.5 million isn't enough. They want more in there, and I think that's really awesome. So anyway, I just think it's super cool that we have this vault. It's awesome that this exists. There is a place in the Arctic where we have all the seeds we will ever need in case any crazy shit happens. That's basically what we're dealing with here, and I think that's awesome. But I want to leave you with one other thing that I found throughout my research here. And that point is the fact that the seed vault itself has 21,500 cannabis seeds being held for safekeeping in the vault. That's more weed seeds than there are asparagus, blueberry, or raspberry seeds stored in the facility. And the reason that I bring that up is I think it's interesting that we have that many marijuana seeds in the facility because it obviously shows a global effort to promote a diversity of, to be honest with you, of marijuana inside that facility. It points to how important the global governments, right, and the people that work on this type of science value marijuana. It shows that they value it. I would imagine for a host of reasons, but I find it very interesting that the United States has contributed. I believe I read over 17 million individual seeds. Obviously, like we read earlier, 4.5 million is the capacity. That's like types of seeds. The U.S. has contributed 17 million seeds themselves to the vault, and yet we have not contributed any marijuana seeds to the vault. And I think that's very interesting because the rest of the world clearly values that we have marijuana seeds in this vault because they know how important they are. And we have a situation where there's a global seed vault keeping the world's crop diversity inside of it. It has decided that the diversity of marijuana plants is apparently more important than asparagus, blueberries, and raspberries. And yet, in the United States, we still are operating in this archaic mindset where you have states that don't even have medicinal marijuana at this point. And the United States itself has not contributed any marijuana to the seed vault. And I think that's very unfortunate because I think if we are looking at the issues of crop diversity and farming and sustainability and the ability for plants to be used medicinally and the importance of certain plants in comparison to others, I think it's very unfortunate that the United States does not take a more active approach, especially when you have a lot of states in this country that do have legalized marijuana. They have had medicinal marijuana for a long time. There are certain areas, especially in California, where they grow some of the most potent marijuana for medicinal purposes in the world, and yet we aren't contributing any of it to the vault. And the vault exists. There are 21,000 types of marijuana seeds in the vault, and yet we are allowing our politics to prevent us from participating in that capacity in the vault. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's very unfortunate that that's the case. And while it's not surprising, I think it's just something that people need to take a look at because at the end of the day, this vault seems to be a global effort to do something good for the world, truthfully, and do something good for humanity. And I think that it's kind of foolish to look at it and not see the benefits that marijuana could have in medicine in this country, and for us not to contribute in that way, I think is very unfortunate. But I did just want to bring that up because I do think that's kind of crazy that they got over 20,000 marijuana seeds in there, and yet. As important as the global seed vault views it, we still have states where it's not even medicinally available to people. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that I learned. But yeah, that's the global seed vault in a nutshell. We got all the world's plants in a secret vault. I shouldn't say secret, but in a vault in the Arctic. So pretty awesome. A little bit creepy, but for the most part, I think it's awesome. So I would encourage you guys to see if there's any way that you can do any of the things that they said to help if you're interested in this, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any other interests in the seed vault. I've been looking into it as much as I can, researching this episode. So anyway, yeah, just thanks for listening, guys. I'm excited to be back doing the podcast. We're gonna keep it rolling. I'm gonna try to do another one of these short form episodes tomorrow, and until then, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.